sweet kiss our little. Now for go alone, yeah. Sweet kiss our liver. Now for go along. You take it from Peter today, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. Sweet, living is sweet, oh, whether rich or poor. Why not pray for a long fellow? He can pray for a long life. As long as they live, you know, the better we grow. Fine, power is fine, oh, it can make you heavy. It's just like a brook, you know, equate capsize. Sweet kiss our liver. Not for go alone. He must be can eat it, or a picture can eat it. Kiss our liver, oh, sweet kiss our liver. Not for go alone. You take it from Peter today, oh, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. You take it from me right today, oh, mother will take it from you tomorrow. Fine, oh, fine, in your favor. Well, people do to you, you dare to cry. Hard enough for one person, oh, it's a matter of time. Hard time is a lesson, yeah, rather this I had. Sweet kiss our liver, not for go alone, mama. Human being can eat it, oh, the deer can eat it. Korta our liver. Our liver, not for go alone. Human beings can eat it, or a creature eat it too. Sweet, living is sweet, oh, whether rich or poor. Why not pray for a long fellow? He can pray for long life. As long as they're living, the better we grow. You take it from me right today, oh, Mira will take it from you tomorrow, mama. Hey, you take it from Peter today, oh, Paul will take it from you tomorrow. Fine, power is fine, oh, it can make you heavy. Looking like a crookie, no, equate.
A very big welcome to everyone joining this conversation from various locations. I'd like to say thank you. Welcome to our Cummings show. And this is where we keep informing people about Mr. Cummings' campaign.
Sweet kiss.
And this is why we love doing it always on this platform. So keep sharing this live video. We are here again on the 20th of October.
You take it from Peter today, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. Sweet, living is sweet, oh, whether rich or poor. Why not pray for a long fellow? He can pray for a long life. As long as they live, you know, the better we grow. Fine, power is fine, oh, it can make you heavy. It's just like a brook, you know, equate capsize. Sweet kiss our liver, not for go alone. Human being can eat it, or a picture can eat it. Kiss our liver, oh, sweet kiss our liver, not for go alone. You take it from Peter today, oh, Paul will take it from you tomorrow, mama. You take it from me today, oh, mother will take it from you tomorrow. Fine, fine, oh, fine, fine. When in your favor. When all people do to you, you going to cry. Hard enough for one person, oh, it's a matter of time. Hard time is a lesson, yeah, brother, this I had. Sweet, sweet kiss, I will leave out. Not for go alone, mama. Human being can eat it, oh, the deer can eat it. Korta will leave out.
I'd like to say thank you again for following. Thank you for following. Keep doing what
Sweet, sweet kiss, I will leave out. Not for go alone. Human beings can eat it, all creatures eat it too. Sweet, sweet living.
Sweet Sweet Cassava Leaf is not for go alone. Credit to Jones Dopo on this one.
It's sweet, oh, where the rich are poor.
So we are absolutely here to do what we know how to do.
When I pray for long fellow, they can pray for long life. As long as they living, the better we grow. You take it from me right today, oh, Mary will take it from you tomorrow, mama. Hey, you take it from Peter today, oh, Paul will take it from you tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, let me say thank you to you all for joining to this conversation. It is important that we do this, that we support Mr. Cummings, and we are always doing this to support Mr. Cummings to the fullest. And with everything that we do, we will keep supporting Mr. Cummings and doing what we know how to do. So let me say thank you to everyone for joining this conversation. Um, So that is it. We are here again. Keep sharing this live video. Keep doing what you know how to do. Thank you for joining to this conversation. This is the All About Comments show. This is what we keep doing. You can put your comments in the comment section. The weather is very, very much okay. It's hot in Liberia, and we are absolutely here to do what we need to do. Yesterday, we listened to some of your talking points, issues raised by the former vice president, but we see that as not essential as not essential for us to talk about because there was no argument, there was no point raised by him, just this same political hypocrisy statement. So we see not to feature that, and we are waiting on the arrival of Mr. Cummings. That would be one of the most enjoyable thing that Liberians will want to see for Mr. Cummings to be in the country, for us to speak to Mr. Cummings and talk to him about training situation. So today conversation, we will be looking at Mr. Cummings' second podcast. The second podcast of Mr. Cummings today on Mr. Cummings' vision, on Mr. Cummings' mission, his idea, his political ideas. So Mr. Cummings will be talking to us on his political ideas, the things that you need to do. But before that, I have a word for the young people. But Ma'am Miatat Harris Sterling, she have a word for the young people of Liberia, and which of course we will be playing here for you people to listen, because it is essential for you people to know ahead of 2023 we have another tax to do. So I want you people to listen to this message to all Liberians. Most especially the young people should listen to this message.
Hello, Liberian young ones, young people of Liberia. Can you tell where I'm sitting? Do you know where I am right now? Can you look at my clothes and determine whether a Congo or a country? My name is Miata Bide Tida Tumayenge Stella Snellborough Herring. Which one of the names you can pick out to tell whether I'm Congo or country? The reason I'm coming to you is because in this election process, I told you before, there are 5 W's, what I call 5 W's, that you need to pay attention to. Who is that person? Why do they want to run for president? What have they done? Where did they do it? And when did they do it? If you can cautiously answer 3 out of those 5 questions, I want you to vote your conscience. Don't vote on your emotion, because emotion is not going to help to change your life. And this election is for you. It's not for everybody, because some people will go, some people will die, some people will leave their country. But the country is in your hand. Who do you want among all of these people that will change this country? That's your question. I am presenting to you one person, and that's Alexander B. Cummings. Why? Because he's qualified, because he's built institution from scratch, because he has his own money, and he's not coming to take money from you. Because the product that he has produced is not just Coca-Cola like you'll be hearing in Ghana, in Asia, in America. It's Coca-Cola worldwide. When somebody say worldwide, I mean the whole world is involved. So when you have a man who can produce for the entire world, that's something for you to pay attention to. So don't use your emotion over your sensibility. Don't use the Congo country business to think that somebody will do something any better for you. What you need to think about is your future. And that's what I'm coming to tell you. So, Dae. Hey, I see other people there who live in America, who don't run away from Liberia when they go someplace there, they don't chop. Me, I can chop. You see my pepper? And you saw my babu over there? I don't chop. When you ain't pick the right person, you will not chop. You will not go to school. Your life will be the CEO way. If that the one you want, then you sit down there and follow the people there.
So that was the word from Mom Miata Steering, and she gave the words of encouragement that we should not vote on our emotions. Do not let your emotions to carry you in this election, because it is absolutely who you vote determines what you receive. So determine on your political products that you will bring to the Liberian people, it would automatically determine your life for the next 6 years. So that's the reason why we are consciously telling the young people, because in the 2017 general and presidential election, the young people occupy 70% of registered voters. So that means that the young people have the opportunity to elect, to determine who will become the next president. And in 2017, we made a mistake by electing President Weah. So we need to change that mistake now by not voting on our emotions, but let's vote based on our patriotism core. Let's vote based on our call to duty to fix our country. So again, I will play this message for every young man to listen, because it is a message that we all need to listen to. We all need to get addicted to listening to them. We all need to listen to them consciously to see how best we can be able to make a rightful decision. Listen to this again.
Hello, Liberian young ones, young people of Liberia. Can you tell where I'm sitting? Do you know where I am right now? Can you look at my clothes and determine whether a Congo or a country? My name is Miata Bide Tida Tumayenge Stella Snellborough Herring. Which one of the names you can pick out to tell whether I'm Congo or country? The reason I'm coming to you is because in this election process, I told you before, There are 5 W's, what I call 5 W's, that you need to pay attention to. Who is that person? Why do they want to run for president? What have they done? Where did they do it? And when did they do it? If you can cautiously answer 3 out of those 5 questions, I want you to vote your conscience. Don't vote on your emotion, because emotion is not going to help to change your life. And this election is for you. It's not for everybody, because some people will go, some people will die, some people will leave their country. But the country is in your hand. Who do you want among all of these people that will change this country? That's your question. I am presenting to you one person, and that's Alexander B. Cummings. Why? Because he's qualified, because he's built institution from scratch, because he has his own money, and he's not coming to take money from you. Because the product that he has produced is not just Coca-Cola like you'll be hearing in Ghana, in Asia, in America. It's Coca-Cola worldwide. When somebody say worldwide, I mean the whole world is involved. So when you have a man who can produce for the entire world, that's something for you to pay attention to. So don't use your emotion over your sensibility. Don't use the Congo country business to think that somebody will do something any better for you. What you need to think about is your future. And that's what I'm coming to tell you. So, Dae. Hey, I see other people there who live in America, who don't run away from Liberia when they go someplace there, they don't chop. Me, I can chop. You see my pepper? And you saw my babu over there? I don't chop. When you ain't pick the right person, you will not chop. You will not go to school. Your life will be the CEO way. If that the one you want, then you sit down there and follow the people there.
So you have listened to the message to all young men and women. It is our time we make a decisions to elect who we want to elect. And the reason why this show on Wednesday is actually dedicated to the young people, it is because we are 70% of the registered voter in this country, according to the 2017 general presidential election statistic. We are 70%. That simply means we determine or we give to Liberia the next president. That simply means we as Liberians determine who we want to elect, most especially the young people. So, in order for us to draft another scope of new leader, some who have ideas, some who have the qualification, competency, some who competence and qualification have been tested over the past time, some who have that good moral uprightness to lead your people. The young people need to sit and look at Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings is not just like the ordinary men and women you see around. Mr. Cummings is quite different. Mr. Cummings' leadership style, his credibility, his exuberance, his understanding when it comes to leadership is different. Mr. Cummings' ability, credibility have been tested in the corporate environment. Mr. Cummings left from Point 4, went to CDA, to Cottington University, went to the United States, worked for Pittsburgh, become executive vice president for Coca-Cola, chief executive officer for Coca-Cola. That simply means that Mr. Cummings' credibility, integrity in raising revenue, generating revenue, on his transparency in governing institutions have been tested. So that's the reason why we are up here, encouraging all young men and women, people who can see the reality, like Mamiata said, to not vote ignorantly. Make that decision. Do not vote ignorantly. Make that decision. Make Mr. Cummings to be the alternative. Make Mr. Cummings to be that alternative. Joshua have failed us. That is the fact. Evidence to many things. Like you are seeing, we don't need to tell you the country is very hard. People are suffering. Liberians are more poor than they were in the past years. Joshua have made everything to be upside down. Young people are not going to school. Young people who are not qualified have been infused into the system to work without experience. Evidence to Mama Sikaba, evidence with Jevoji Tamakochi, evidence with Ivan Wise. People who in the past had no leadership experience, who have not worked in government, in simple institutions. Administratively, you present, you feel saying in the governance system of this country, how you expect the city ordinance to be maintained and sustained when Jevoji Tamakochi does not have the idea to maintain and sustain the city ordinance? How you expect things to run? How do you expect things to go on? These are some of the things we need to sit and watch. We make Georgia president that have no idea or clue on administrative proceeding, how to raise the revenue. He have not done it in the past. He will not do it in the present. He will not do it in the future. So we should stop voting on our emotions. We should stop voting on our emotions. Let us sit and think critically. Yes, I believe Mr. Cummings will make the difference. I believe Mr. Cummings have been tested. I believe Mr. Cummings' leadership ability have been tested with evidence of good leadership ability with Korta over the past years. That is Mr. Cummings coming into politics. 2 years to election, coming into politics, maintaining the fifth place, being among the top three. That can tell you that Mr. Cummings' leadership ability, Mr. Cummings' credibility, Mr. Cummings' loyalty to see this country becoming where is it, gave us the ability to support Mr. Cummings. We are all young people. We need to see the difference. We need to observe our political corridors. We need to make the necessary decisions. If we don't make the necessary decisions, it will affect us. That decisions we need to make. And that is the decisions we need to make as young people of this country. We have a lot of young people in this country. 85% of our Liberian population are unemployed. Only 15% are employed. The 15% are employed in this country under Georgia, they are underpaid. That is the argument. The 500 job, 5,000 jobs Georgia said, according to the Pope Ajana, are going to provide every month. Having provided, no. The agriculture system in this country have died on the President we are. Everything is dying on the President we are, including the future of the young people. It is time for us to make that decision. It is time for us to take that decision. That decision to change this country, it is high time we take that decision. It is high time we take that decision. It is high time we see things. It is high time we observe that Mr. Cummings is the next alternative. Comrades, friends, it is high time we make that decision. It is high time we sit. Making the rightful decision comes towards 2023 is that decisions we need to make. We need to sit and make a critical decision. Let me tell you why. We'll come to the conversation of Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings will speak. We'll come to the conversation. So keep sharing this live video. We'll come to the conversation. Let me tell you this. There are three popular presidential candidates towards 2023. We have Mr. Cummings, we have George Weah, we have Joseph Yimabwaka. Out of the three, one they have the credibility, the qualification to lead, and that person is Mr. Cummings. The Bano rest are 01 in new bottle. Boubacar served for the 8 years. Just to inform us in his interview that his 46-year service or 48-year service to this country was based on a pretense, and his 12-year service was based on a pretense on President Sharif. Is that not a sycophantic idea? Is that not a war that you could not, you cannot even, that you should not even accept to even vote Boubacar? He said he served the Liberian people on a pretense. He served Manasseh on a pretense. His office, after leaving Manasseh, Ambassador Boubacar said he was the racing park car. He was the park car in the garage. How can a main office that will receive over 2 million budget every budget year say his office was like a park car? After being the president of the Senate, where 66 concession agreement passed, since the 66 concession agreement only 4 met international best practice. This is the Boubacar we're talking about. This is the Boubacar that had 12 years or 48 years service in this country. Not a single hospital, clinic have been named in honor of him, or he have erected. The Lofa Country Road is still polluted and unfixed with Boubacar 48 years service to this country. Not a single Palava Hut is named in honor of Boubacar in Lofa County. Let's come to President George Weah. President George Weah won all of the international footballing awards. Not a single stadium, hospital, or playing ground is named in honor of him or he erected. Has former world best. Is that not insane? Is that not deception? Is that not deception? So these are the things we need to see and conclude on, that Mr. Cummings is the next alternative. That Mr. Cummings is the alternative that we need to conclude on comes 2023. And if you don't know who is Mr. Cummings, listen to this.
Alexander B. Cummings is a Liberian businessman and philanthropist, renowned internationally as a global corporate executive with over 30 years of leadership, demonstrated achievement and wealth creation built through honesty, integrity, hard work, and professionalism. Born and raised in Liberia, a graduate of the College of West Africa and briefly matriculated to Cuttington University College before completing his bachelor's in finance and economics at Northern Illinois University. He also holds an MBA in finance from Atlanta University, Clark Atlanta University. He returned home and worked for the Liberia Bank of Development and Investment, LBDI, before moving internationally, first with the Pillsbury Company in Minnesota, USA, and then the Coca-Cola Company, including Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, and the United Kingdom. He has recently resigned as Executive Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of the Coca-Cola Company. Liberia needs a remedy, not a replica. Liberia needs real change, not more of the same. Most of the political class have deep alliances that are associated with some of the causes of the Liberia conflict. Hence, the alliances are almost impossible to give way to new equitable systems of efficiency, transparency, and accountability free of influence peddling. Alexander B. Cummings, empowering Liberians, uplifting Liberia, hope and change for the future. Liberia needs real change, not more of the same. Most of the political class have deep alliances that are associated with some of the causes of the Liberia conflict. Hence, the alliances are almost impossible to give way to new equitable systems of efficiency, transparency, and accountability free of influence peddling. Alexander B. Cummings, empowering Liberians, uplifting Liberia, hope and change for the future.
So that is Mr. Cummings. That is Mr. Cummings. If you don't know, Mr. Cummings is a participant in a leading competitor globally when it comes to administrative revenue generation process. You don't compare Mr. Cummings with Boakai or with George Weah. No, Mr. Cummings is not in that line of. You don't compare Mr. Cummings with these characters. You know the reason is very simple. Mr. Cummings' credibility, integrity, and competency have placed him on the urge to lead our country. People speak about, oh, Mr. Cummings is this, Mr. Cummings is that. Let me say this to you people, and I will say this with an effect. Let me say this. When you are in relationship with someone and that person is manhandling you or mistreating you, you leave the relationship, but do not be afraid to fall in love with another person because you may not know that your angel is waiting for you. It's not because Church Ria is failing you. Parker have failed you before for the past 12 years. All of them have failed you. That means you should take the blame and place it on Mr. Cummings. Yes, Mr. Cummings will accept the blame and provide the necessary instruction or solution. It said, with the lack of knowledge, my people perish. The Bible said it. With the lack of knowledge, my people perish. With the lack of knowledge, my people perish. In so doing, as young people in this country, if you lack knowledge of sound decision making, you will perish your future. And that is the example we did on George Weah, because we lack the understanding, we lack the knowledge to select a better candidate. In 2017, we voted the wrong option, which is President George Weah. President George Weah was the worst option ever in the history. President Weah is the worst thing ever happened in the history of the Republic of Liberia to become president. Like one of the worst mistakes Liberians ever made to make George Weah president. The worst mistake. And we need to revert that mistake. We need to come back to say, yes, we made this mistake. We are not going to allow this mistake happen. We want to revert that decision. And we need to revert that decision comes 2023. That decision. We need to revert that decision comes 2023. We need to revert that decision comes 2023. And that decision, we need to revert that decision comes 2023. Reverting that decision is electing Mr. Cummings as the next president for this country. By electing Mr. Cummings as the next president of this country. Mr. Cummings, let me tell you this. The worst thing that ever happened to Liberians is to elect Mr. Cummings. There's a big information coming for this platform. You know, someone that texts me, or big promotional information is coming. We will expose some of this information. Just wait. You will see some of this information. To everyone who follow this platform, there is an information coming. we will start airing the platform in the various counties now. So we'll start informing our people now. And let me say this. If we don't elect Mr. Cummings as the next president in this country, Liberia will become a filtered, destitutional country. If we don't elect Mr. Cummings, 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 and let me say this, I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart as young people. Let us make a decision to elect Mr. Cummings. What we're doing with Bwaka not fail us. Bwaka have failed us. Bwaka have no space, has no face in Liberian democracy. Bwaka said, Bwaka stood up in the presence of Liberians who are poor, who are struggling to make life. Bwaka served 12 years as vice president. Bwaka came out to say in the faces of Liberians, where poverty is written on our faces in Liberia. Bwaka said, I squandered your opportunity. We squandered your opportunity. We had the opportunity and we squandered it. You know that word squander, misuse, mismanage your opportunity. So it means a Bwaka could have the ability, could have that exuberance to buttress the effort of former President Sirleaf. But now, Liberia education system was going to improve, the economy was going to improve, the agricultural sector was going to improve. But you know why it didn't improve? Because Bwaka do not have an interest in improving the agricultural sector in this country. Simple example. Onodo, Bwaka was serving as agriculture minister Onodo. There was a 2 million fund given under the project called the Green Revolution Program. Under Samuel Do, the late Samuel Do. A 2 million program spearheaded by the Ministry of Agriculture to promote agricultural activities in this country. You know what happened? Bwaka and his likes stole that money. They were investigated on a door. They was investigated on a door. They stole that money, and that money was never accounted for. It was the reason why those sacked Bwaka. Bwaka was a thief before. He was a thief under President Sirleaf administration, where 66 concession agreement passed as vice president and president of the Senate, and only 4 met international best practice. And I'll show you the evidence. I'll show you the evidence. The investigation report came out. The investigation report came out on Bwaka. Bwaka stood and those sacking. I will show you the evidence. Let me show you the evidence. Let me show you the evidence. You will see the evidence. Bwaka is a role. I'll show you the evidence. I will show you evidence that Bwaka is a role. Go and browse the evidence. It was reported. This is it. Bwaka in US 2 million scanner. You see it? You see it? You see it? You see it? He was investigated. You see it? According to him, you see it? You see it? Go and read the news. It was reported. It was reported on New Dawn. Go and read the news on New Dawn. On July 7, 2017, it was reported. You see, it was reported. Go and read the news. Go and read the news. Parker is a rogue. Go and read the news. I'm saying it. The issue of liberating our people cannot be compromised. We will never compromise the issue of liberating our people. We will not compromise the issue of our people being liberated. If Barker must become president, he must pay our $2 million he stole on a Doe regime on the Green Revolution project. Barker is a rogue. The issue here is we will not sit to allow people who are stole from the covers of our Liberian people to come in this country. This is a clear evidence. 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 Then we'll come to George Weah. You want to talk about George Weah? Who supported the war? Oh, who supported Mudia? We want to talk about George Weah. Then we'll come to talk about George Weah. Who supported the war? George Weah has Senator of Moserado County. Not a single bill. He was the lowest at the needs in the Senate. Not a single bill was passed. He passed or he contributed to. You think you don't know these people? These people are a bunch of looters, thieves under industrial scheme to milk the country cover and lead the young people future in a skeleton mood. The legs of Boaka, the legs of Boaka, the legs of George Weah. These are all looters on an industrial scheme. Want to make the young people feature in a skeleton mood where there's nothing to gain. You think we don't know them? You brought George Weah to the Senate. You brought George Weah to the presidency. He didn't declare his assets. Assets declaration. His assets were never declared. You know how many dollars George Weah have stolen? You know how many dollars George Weah have stolen? You brought George Weah. Instead of George Weah generating revenue to pave our economic system in this country, to make it better, that the young people have a future, that the young people have an alternative, that the young people, when the massive voted George Weah in 2017 because they were ignorant, they had lack of knowledge, when the massive voted George Weah in 2017 with a hope for changing our Liberian people. What George Weah did? George Weah go back. George Weah went out back to steal, to loot. Is this the George Weah we want to elect? Comes to 2023. Is this the George Weah? Who Nashville resident were looking at the old house, a Nashville resident. But go on Nashville, you see you see a house in built for the Liberian people money. 6 months into power. George Weah built 46 condominiums. His living residence. 1 year into George Weah presidency, 16 billion, not million, 16 billion got missing. 1 year into George Weah administration, 16 billion got missing from the coffers of the Liberian people. They stole the money, they built vaults in their own houses and placed the money there. After that, 1 year, 6 months into George Weah administration, they started stealing the 25 million mobile exercise. Samuel 12, stole that money. The young people called for the resignation of Samuel Tua in this country. George Weah did not listen. Samuel Tua was the chair for the economic management team. 25 million was squandered. After 2 years, 6 months into George Weah administration, people who knew about the COVID-19 fund, the 25 million, the COVID-19 fund, how it was squandered. They started killing people. The lack of the ARA, people died. ARA employees died. The people start disappearing. People who knew information about the mismanagement of that fund, they started disappearing. Their bodies were being found on the streets and corners of this country. People who started exposing their own ritualistic killing, they arrested. Jethro Harris, for no reasons, until today, the Liberian National Police cannot give a fitting report on his arrest. Cannot give a fitting report on Jethro Harris' arrest. Until the student massive had to get up to say, we need an immediate effective release of Jethro, and Jethro was released based on the help and call of ANC lawyers. 4 years in George Weah administration, the 25 million road fund got missing, or got misappropriated, misapplied. Is this the man you call the Bible medicine? You say you face your role, but you're still in your role fund, in your present. Then you get sedition clapping. What's wrong with y'all? When you go on the sacrament tree, what thing will happen to you? What can happen to your head? It is time for us to elect people. It is time for us to engage the 2023 election. Vote of partisanship, but with patriotism. We call for a nation developmental agenda goal. Let us leave partisanship. Partisanship can never help us in this country. We have practiced partisanship for 178 years in this country. Partisanship have never ever developed this country we call Liberia today. Liberia will only develop until we unify ourselves as Liberians. No talk about George Weah. George Weah came to your faces after the stable food rice cannot even be produced in this country. We spend 100 million in importation of rice, our stable food. 100 millions. George Weah administration spent 100 millions on the importation of our stable food in this country. We cannot even produce rice. Too big, we cannot produce too big. Matches, we cannot produce matches. Is this the George Weah? Is this the country? Is this the CDC? Is this the George Weah? Is this what we are about to face? So to my young people, let us start electing people with competency and qualification. Let us look at their past history, what they have done for us. Let us checkmate them. Let us bring them to the drawing table. Let us analyze their political views and agenda. Let us go back to their history, their past history. Have this individual contributed to the growth and development of this country? What was this individual past performance to the place he was working? What was this individual behavior? You know, this is how you qualify an individual to be a leader. But you just elect reckless people into power. You take one boy from the ghetto who had nothing to do in his entire life, reckless, ill-fated, you take him to become representative for district number 8. Ascaragui. He can't be representative. You take one boy who had no experience on the leadership and proceeding of district number 9, you main representative of district number 9, Fogo, what they traveling. You left full behaviors. You left full behaviors who have the understanding how to pave the district. You left it. You let her one about because you say boss let it die. So you want reward his office. You let her. Today you have nothing to do but the travel. If you see Fogo horse that is constructing, if you see Fogo is currently constructing on the highway, you believe, you even believe that Fogo was a lawmaker for 12 years, but now the Fogo is just 2 to 3 years in the power. You take George Weah, we came from the football with no experience. George Weah, we admitted that you not understand anything you made George Weah president. Liberians, what wrong with us? Seditions, what wrong with you people? Stop messing up the covers of this country. It is time for us to be doing something that is right. It is time for us to make the rightful decisions. It is time for us to stand to make that rightful decisions. And that rightful decisions is to elect Mr. Cummings. That rightful decisions is to elect Mr. Cummings. We need to make a rightful decision now before our children future going to a skeleton moon. Every decision we make here will not affect us today, will affect our born children. The decisions we will make comes 2023 will not affect some of us, will affect our unborn children. Because you're getting Georgia another 6 years of stealing, looting, killing. You're getting another 6 years. People argue what Mr. Cummings have done, what Mr. Cummings have contributed to, what Mr. Cummings have done in this country. Mr. Cummings is just coming. I'll say, listen, Mr. Cummings have contributed immensely. Mr. Cummings have contributed immensely. That question goes to George Weah. George Weah spent 14 plus years in the opposition community without doing anything for the people, for the Liberian people. George Weah admitted that without me doing anything, you have voted me. George Weah admitted that without him doing anything, you have voted into power. But Mr. Cummings, who have contributed to this country, you know what? Liberia will get a tendency of electing poor people, poor people. Someone who is very poor, who is not qualified, who is not competent. We elect people based on sympathy in this country. We will be electing people with sympathy on the sympathy will seek our interests. That's the reason why you see Liberians when they appear anywhere they look sorry for, because they elect poor people, unqualified people into power. We don't elect people who have innovation. We don't elect people who can tell us, hey, look, let us make the rightful decision. This is what we need to do. We don't elect them. We take them to be child play in this country. You take them to be child play in this country. You let someone who prioritizes playing football at the park, someone who prioritizes dancing buga, you let him into power for 6 years. You let that type of character, that human being, that type of element into power. You left Mr. Cummings in 2017 to make another option. You let that element into power for 6 years. What they make it say nothing. Can't say nothing. You lay into power. That element, that kind of element you elected into power, my people. That kind of element you elected into power. Let me tell you, let me play to you what Mr. Cummings have done today. Today is your moral study class. I will play to you what Mr. Cummings have done. And from this, we'll have a conversation with Mr. Cummings' vision. Listen. Listening to what Mr.
So the last time I was talking to my papi there, my old man there, my picking there, all my rear getting, I on Broad Street and I went Clarendon, I even went Pinsville, I went Bon, Lofa, Nimba, Grand Cape Man, and all my papi there, everybody just telling me, say, the mayor, still will not see the man looking like good man, oh, the man just good, all the thing the man talking, it makes sense to help our country. But all the people then just keep telling us, say, oh, the man just coming, the man do nothing for Liberia. So I say, you know what? You will let me go check so I can find out the thing here. So I went and checked. I checked that when the man was working with Coca-Cola, the man used his position to get people in Coca-Cola to donate about $2 million to support Liberia. During the Ebola time, the man decided, he said, I will help, I will get people together, I will use my position, $2 million. He stopped there. He provided scholarship for our children and Liberian children in Liberia and abroad. The man sponsored the Alexander B. Cummings Innovation Center at the AMU University. Imagine that for our students to be learning better, to get better access to Google things to learn. Then he decided, he said, no, I will look for local organizations in Liberia that are trying to do work for people to bring water. About 20 other organizations, 20 projects. He decided to sponsor 20 projects for organizations who were building pumps, digging well, helping to provide clean drinking water. He stopped there. The man spent almost $4.5 million in the Pinsville area, around the Dupo area for you who actually living there, to build the first school they call STEM school. That school is supposed to help our children and learn about computer, about technology, about math, about science. The first time ever in the history of Liberia. The man stopped that. The man convinced a friend in America during the Ebola crisis. That time, you're not even thinking about running for president. During the Ebola crisis, he convinced a lot of BP people in America. He brought all of them with him to Liberia. He said, you gotta go see for ourselves what happening in Liberia. He brought some top branding from Coca-Cola. Because of that, they decided that during the Ebola crisis, Coca-Cola would not shut down. While all the other companies that were closing, Coca-Cola remained open. In fact, Coca-Cola increased their work in Liberia by employing more Liberians. Now what Cummings now do? The man stopped there. Our president Ellen Johnson said he saw the thing and man said, what? The man are too good. I can't believe the thing the man doing. So she decided to get a man the highest honor in the Republic of Liberia. She said, I will honor the man for the kind of good work he's doing. Long me, they call it the 9th grand band in the Humane Order of African Redemption. Now what Ellen Johnson said he get a man to honor the man. I said, even Jua Howard Taylor that running were open today, she saw the thing. She said, what? I can't believe it. The man are too good, man. The man too good for the man are too good the way the man helping the country. In fact, she saw the thing for long. She said, you know what? In fact, I in love with the man. The man too good. But the man will have said, that one not there. He not doing it for you, Joel. Don't be in love with the man. Yeah, he married. I'm my husband. He only doing it for Liberia because he really loved this country. He launched the Cummings Africa Foundation. Since the man launched the foundation in 14 months, the man had undertaken 22 projects, and he now support 25 different organizations in Liberia, and about 30,000 plus Liberians now benefit from the projects the man now do. He now spent about $289,000 on education, agriculture, and health. The how good a man is, a man paid the wire school fee for 2,322 students. He won. He spent about $106,000 in actually doing it. The man stopped there. The man went to BWI. The man saw BWI. They played dark, no current. All our politicians they been in the country passing around. They never thought about it at all. The man decided. The man said, "Okay, I will change this thing, and I'm good for the people to be coming to school. No lie." The man buy this big generator. The generator can electrify the whole BWI and even provide more current to people outside of BWI. 350 kVA. The generator cost the man $67,000. The man said, BWI, you don't use the generator so people can come to school with light. That the Cummings man they're talking about, they say the men are good, they don't know the man just come in. That the man of my people, when you go vote, remember, Alexander B. Cummings, the man won't change the country. The man want make the country better. He said, you gotta stop supporting the politician who been lying to us. Finally, you gotta get together to make our country better. Remember
to Mr. Cummings' contribution. You just listening to Mr. Cummings' contribution to this country. You just listen to Mr. Cummings' contribution to this country. The decision is yours. But let me say this to my young people. Let us make a resounding decision, Council today, to elect Mr. Cummings. A resounding decision that would bring George Weah presidency to an end. A resounding decision. A decision that would bring George Weah. A decision that would bring George Weah presidency to an end. Council today. And that decision is to elect Mr. Cummings. That decision is to elect Mr. Cummings. Mr. Cummings contributed to this country until our country political Maradona, President Selig. President Selig gave Mr. Cummings the Nat Grant burn in a mean honor of African redemption. The highest honor, the highest award, humanitarian award in this country. When Mr. Cummings contributed to the Ebola process during Manasseh rewarded him. Manasseh rewarded Mr. Cummings with the highest honor. Joe Howard Taylor, who is currently the current vice president of this country, awarded Mr. Cummings for Mr. Cummings' humanitarian contribution. She know. Then let's soon begin and say, that they come up Bugat dancer who can be. They come up Bugat dancer that he can be. They come up Bugat dancer. We better stop joking with the future of the young people of this country. We better stop joking that they come up Bugat dancer who can be. Let us stop joking with the future of the young people in this country. Let us stop joking with the future of the young people in this country. Let us stop joking. Let us make a resounding victory. Let us teach George Weah a lesson that never ever you will become president for this country because you are inept, ill-fated, lack competency and qualification to lead us. So we are giving you a one turn. Let us tell President Weah in his face. And we're saying these things, you say it and you act on it. You're saying these things, you say it and you act on it. When you act, then you make a resounding decision. When you act, then you make a resounding decision. We will not sit there in this country again and allow someone who does not have the qualification and competency to lead us like we did to George Weah. Amy Bwaka, who have failed us, who have robbed our future by spoiling our opportunity, cannot lead us. Then you said, I'm talking, the old man read it. You read it when you served 12 years as vice president under former President Eddie Joseph Sirleaf and 48 years in public service, stealing 2 million. The Green Revolution Project Fund on a door. So you ready now to steal? So it is the kind of caliber of people that will be listening to. You don't have the vision. You don't have the understanding. You don't have the vision. You don't have the understanding. You don't know who to lead our people, how to lead our people. And that's the reason why Mr. Cummings said, including the excluded and giving the best to the least. Under the Cummings administration, we will include the excluded. Those who George Weah excluded, we will include them and give the best to the least. We will include them. We will empower them. Mr. Cummings will empower them. Mr. Cummings will include them. Mr. Cummings will have them on every sector. This country being in power. Unlike George Weah, who just there to enrich himself. Unlike George Weah, who just there to steal the Liberian people money. Unlike George Weah, who just there to kill the Liberian people. Unlike George Weah. We need to start making a resounding decision ahead of 2023. God have given us our Jesus Christ to liberate us, which is Mr. Cummings. But we are still requesting for Barabbas. God have given us the Jesus Christ, Mr. Cummings, to liberate our people. But Liberians are still requesting for Barabbas. The Barabbas. George Weah is the Barabbas. Parker is the Barabbas. We're still requesting for this Barabbas. When God have given us our Jesus Christ, which is Mr. Cummings, to liberate us, we are still requesting for the Barabbas. We are still requesting for those Barabbas. Let us make a decision now. Let us make a decision now, the young people. Let me say this to supporters of Mr. Cummings in the diaspora. I'll say this, and I've said this before. You have a role to play in this election come 2023. You have a very important role to play. Do not babysit the election come 2023. You have an important role to play in the electoral process of Mr. Cummings of this country. You keep supporting, you currently supporting people that you don't even know. You have a role to play. This hard time, all Liberians in the diaspora, you come down, get your voter registration card, and make your decisions in October of 2023. You have a role to play. You have a decisions to make. You did not leave this country or no. You did not leave this country because you wanted to. You left this country on oppression. You have learned. You have established yourself. It is hard time you come back. You have a role to play, a serious role to play in Liberia elections. Do not hesitate to play that role. Do not hesitate to play that role. And I'll play this music called It Is Finished. It is finished. Let all ANC partisans celebrate this music. It is finished. And as Anna B. Cummings say, it finished. Listen. Listen, it finished.
Straight up.
Let's go. It finished, oh, it finished. Yeah, the sound Cummings say, it finished. It finished, oh, it finished. Partiality finished, oh, it finished. It finished, oh, it finished. The corruption business finished, oh, it finished. Everybody have an enjoy. When one get wet, babu joy, that thing have to stop. Look, we have facility, feeding our money, walking away with impunity. Yeah. We suffering and enjoying, while we crying and laughing. Hospital like a medicine. Now I want to say, they can give us straight to overseas. But we having somebody that coming, somebody that coming to bring justice for the poor. And it's having somebody that coming, through the CPP to wipe away our sorrow. We having somebody that coming, somebody that coming. We cool your facility. We having somebody that coming, somebody that coming. We equal opportunity. But they finish, oh, they finish. Yeah, the sound Cummings say, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. Partiality finish, oh, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. The corruption business finish, oh, they finish. Yeah, tell a group of people in the country treating all as slave. If you try to talk as soon as get you, you will go to jail. Look at that, violating our way. Pas où ça finit la guerre. La Liberia wake up quand c'est somebody to rescue us. And the Senate come be pet you all in the future. You got election ability, peace and transparency. Come to the system for everybody to benefit. So shine your eye, be wise. Don't be fooled with killing, breaking agriculture. Smoke, you must get past the building. Infrastructure development, see that kind of thing. Job opportunity, with gender equality. CPB all the way, collection in our area. Paper justice, education in our area. Hey, all the property, if taking our country money, seeing the overseas, it finish. Money well, babu job, it finish. You get connection, you get into the house, it finish. CPB, oh yeah. It finish, oh. Elle est sans Cummings, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. Partiality, finish, oh, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. The corruption, they finish, oh, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. Elle est sans Cummings, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. Partiality, finish, oh, they finish. They finish, oh, they finish. The corruption, they finish.
So the correction being finished. Let us listen. This is a serious portion of our show. Let us listen to Mr. Cummings. Second portion of his podcast. Let us keep sharing this live video and listen very keenly. Listen to this.
I'm Alexander Cummings, the political. Good afternoon. I'm Alexander Cummings, the political leader of the ANC, coming to you with our second podcast. As we suggested the last time we had a podcast, we said we would do this monthly, where we have the opportunity to share with you activities, what we've been up to over the past 30 days or so. And we would take questions, comments, suggestions from everybody who's listening. So let me first of all start by apologizing for us starting a few minutes late. Those who know me well know I like to start on time, and I'm disciplined in that and many other ways. So my apologies for the slightly delayed start. Let me also remind you that in our first podcast, we shared with you our background, upbringing, growing up in the Point 4 area and then Fiamma, going to demonstration, and then CABA, working at LBDI. We talked a little bit about my international business experience, just to give you some context. And then we touched on many other topics last week, primarily taking your questions, comments, and suggestions. But the first thing I want to talk about today is this whole, hoopla around the CPP. Let me say in this very public and fashion and direct manner that I, Alex Cummings, on behalf of the ANC, so I personally and the party, we are committed to the CPP, the collaborating political parties. I may have said in last week's podcast or in other public discussions that it was unrealistic for us to think we'd come together and sing Kumbaya right away. There was always going to be some challenges, some storming. It's unfortunate it was public, but we in the ANC are again committed to the CPP. It's in the interest of our country and in the interest of us holding together to make sure we bring good governance, economic development, and prosperity to Liberia. So we're very committed to that. I want to call on all of my supporters and all supporters of the ANC to let's step back. Let's let's take some of the heat out of the conversation. We've tried to set a new bar in political discourse in our country. And I implore you, I encourage you to let's keep at that level. Let's not get pulled into the gutter. It's not constructive, it's not helpful. The presidential election is over 4 years away. Let's focus on the challenges of the Liberian people. Let's focus on working on the framework and the processes that will make sure the CPP works. Let's just get the emotion out of this. And while I can only influence partisans and supporters of the ANC, I implore all the partisans of the CPP parties to let's focus on our people. Let's focus on Liberia. Let's focus on what we have in common and not what separates us. And I'm hopeful that going forward, starting right away, we can shift the focus from the personalities. We can shift the focus from who wants to be president or not. That is not relevant today. What's relevant today is the challenges faced by our people, our families, friends, colleagues, and that's where we want to focus. So with that in mind, let me share with you some of the things we've been doing in that regard. As I've consistently said, we are not the government. We don't have the resources that's at the disposal of the government. But we, in our own small way, as a family and as a party, are trying to address where we can, and given our resources, we're trying to address some of the challenges faced by the Liberian people. And so some very simple examples, we made a contribution to the hospital in Zoza, where for months the nurses and doctors have not been paid and they're running out of medical supplies. And through the request of one of our legislators, Bayan Howard, we made a contribution to that hospital that was very well received, that put bread back on the tables of nurses and doctors, and some small contributions to medicines and supplies in that hospital. Again, it was the best we could do. We wanted to help where we could, and that's just one example of what we're trying to do, again, to address the current needs of our people. We similarly, made an announcement in Nimba, at the Nimba County Community College, that we will make a contribution to build classrooms for science and technology program that is starting there. You see, for us as the Cummings Foundation, and for me personally, we believe that technology is what will change or be one of the key catalysts for transforming Liberia. The world is moving rapidly ahead. About artificial intelligence. Google just announced they've developed this quantum computer that will do calculations that would have taken, 5, 10 years, whatever, order of magnitude, big difference. And we have to start to train our young people who have the raw intelligence, the raw IQ, to also participate in this new technology world. And so we contributed to the Nimba County Community College to build classrooms to focus on science and technology and mathematics. So in a small way, to help prime the pump or propel and encourage Liberians in that area. You may also know that the Cummings Foundation also has decided to narrow its focus to education, and more specifically to science, math, engineering education, for the same reasons. We want to encourage Liberians and our young people to focus in that area, because again, it will be one of the key catalysts for how we can transform our country. Technology, as you know, is impacting everything, it's disrupting everything. And as we talk about things like agriculture, technology will disrupt that, will change that. And we can leapfrog if Liberians are trained and focus on that area. So another example of what we're trying to do to help. You may also know that we are sponsoring an entrepreneurship summit, November 14 and 15. year in Monrovia, where we want to help entrepreneurs build their skills to take them to the next level. Entrepreneurship will be one of the additional catalysts that will change our country, and we want to help existing entrepreneurs propel their businesses, give them skills that will help them grow and expand their businesses, create jobs. One of the biggest challenges we have in Liberia is the lack of employment, the lack of jobs. And so we've started this initiative. I'm happy to say we're oversubscribed in terms of people wanting to participate and attend. But we are very excited about it. We've got Liberians and a few non-Liberians coming to hold master classes and workshops to help young Liberian entrepreneurs. We also have a Shark Tank-like program where businesses will make a pitch for investment in their businesses, again to help, because financing is a big constraint to expanding businesses, especially for small entrepreneurs. And so we'll have a Shark Tank-like program. They will make a pitch, and we'll pick 2 businesses that will provide funding to help them grow and expand their businesses. So very excited about that. And then we continue to, work on solutions for the challenges faced by the economy. As you may know, Liberians are struggling. The economy is in very bad shape. And I always like to be fair and balanced, that changing and transforming the economy and doing the things necessary will not be easy. It's going to be tough. There are some structural challenges we have that need to be addressed and need to be fixed. And I never want to give the impression that it's easy, that you just, by the stroke of a pen, change these things. But what I will say to you, that it can be done. And we have to start that journey. We have to start making those tough calls. We have to start making choices on where we invest the meager resources we have as a country. We have to start focusing on how can we grow the revenues of our country. So what are those revenue sources? Where can we extract more revenues without putting the burden on the Liberian people? And how can we grow it? How can we protect it? Where are the leakages? Where does the stealing and the corruption occur? How can we plug those holes, right? So the money can be redeployed to help Liberians and to move the country forward. What are those tough choices we have to make where we cannot invest today, but we're going to invest? So for example, we should be making the resources available to areas that generate revenue. What do I mean? To be a bit more specific, we should be making sure the people at the Liberian Revenue Authority have the resources they need to effectively collect revenues for our country. We need to be looking at, because we're still dependent on the extractive industries, meaning iron ore, meaning gold, diamond, these things. We should be putting focus on how can we get more value from those areas, where resources are required, so we can extract more value from those areas, so we can redeploy in the right way. We get a lot of resources through duties and through the ports. Is there a different way to think about that? Rather than continue to increase tariffs and increase duties, what about reducing it, allowing more inputs to come in, and so you're getting more cash off a wider base? I often say that many people, Liberians included, prefer to have 100% of $1 rather than 50% of $10. What does that mean? It means you prefer to have $1 than to have 5, right? So if we think differently about duties and tariffs, and recognize that sometimes by actually reducing those rates, you encourage more things to come through, and by more things coming through, you actually make more absolute dollars that you can redeploy. That kind of rethink needs to take place, because then the products sold are cheaper for our citizens. That means they can afford to buy more. That means more things come to the port, and that means the government collects more revenue, as opposed to keep increasing tariffs and customs duties, etc. So a rethink of these things is what will help drive our country forward. You know, we keep doing the same things and we expect different results. Definition of insanity. You've heard me say that over and over, but it's a record, it's a saying, a statement I will continue to make, because I think too often we continue to do these things and somehow we expect things to change and to be different. And that is not going to be the case. So let me stop there. Let me take any comments or questions or suggestions that have come from all of you, and we'll respond to those. And if not, we can continue to talk about some other areas that I have some passion for, and areas we're looking at in terms of how we can today, begin to impact the lives of Liberians in whatever small way we can. So, Mariah, are there any comments or questions that have come through so far?
Yes, we have a few. Jeremy Bajue wants to know why you're not on any social media platform, but you just said you believe in technology.
It's a similar question that I alluded to, I think, the last time, that because I believe in agriculture, does that mean I should be a farmer, right? I use technology to do most of my work. But it doesn't mean I have to be on social media. Does that mean I don't believe in technology because I'm not on social media? I get all the information I require from social media through other means. But because I'm not an active user, doesn't mean I don't believe in technology. So the idea of equating being on Facebook with therefore means technology, I don't subscribe to. It is one way to do it. It is not the only way to use technology.
The other question is from Jack on. He says, okay, so Willem Carter wants you to clarify you working for LPDI. He doesn't believe that you work for LPDI.
I don't know how to clarify that. It's true, I did. Elias Salibi was the president of LBDI at the time. David Vington was my boss's boss at the time. At the time I worked with LBDI, the controller was a Haitian. His name was Titus. The general manager was, I think, from Bangladesh, India. Chaudhry was the general manager of the bank. So you can ask people who still at the bank today. Mildred Cooper, who retired a few years ago as general manager, was also working at the bank. So yeah, you check the records. I did work at LBDI.
John Bond says we haven't gotten any official apology from Mr. Yue on the derogatory remarks against you. Do you expect one from him, or are you just going to let it go as always?
Look, I'm going to let it go. I don't. Again, I want us to try to depersonalize this thing because it's not helpful. It's not constructive. People think because I don't yell and scream and I don't attack and say derogatory remarks about people that somehow it means I'm a pushover. I can say to you that you don't achieve the level of success I did in corporate America by being a pushover, by not having a spine, by not being tough. And the idea that you have to yell and scream, I ask Liberians, where has that gotten us? Where has the tough man mentality gotten the country after 172 years? This expectation that we got to keep attacking each other and yelling and screaming and abusing and disrespecting, somehow that means you're tough and you will get things done. What has that gotten us after 172 years? Keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. I'm telling you that will not be the case. So Mr. Yuri and I will figure this out. We'll move forward in the CPP, and that is my goal and objective. And if for some reason, in the unlikely case, this CPP doesn't work, it will not be my fault, it will not be our fault. But I believe it'll work because I think we all understand the importance of what it means to our country and to our people.
So Abu A.B. Kane says, Sir, do you feel good about a friend who tried to work with you at the same time trying to reduce your strength? I think the ANC should recruit outside of the CPP to avoid conflict within the CPP. What are your thoughts?
So, let me, first of all, define to people listening what the CPP is, or what I think it is. We're working on a framework that will fully define what we are and what we aren't. But this is my perspective going in. The CPP is an alliance of independent parties. We are not a grand coalition. We have not delisted our various parties, ANC, UP, LP, ALP, and form one party with one name, one leadership, etc., etc. We may get there. I think that should be our goal. But for now, for today, I think the first step is to make sure we are an alliance of independent parties, aligned around some common objectives, like, have a common senatorial slate in 2020, align around common legislative agenda, for example, electoral reform. And I think that's the first step. And what are those processes for getting that alignment, for coming together, for dispute resolution? But we are an alliance of independent parties. That means we all should continue to grow our parties because it strengthens the alliance. Now, let me talk about members moving between parties, because this is very emotive and this is very emotional. First of all, it is Liberians' constitutional right to associate or disassociate from any party or any organization. And, I use this example. I was in church a few Sundays ago, and there was the altar call where the reverend typically calls if you want to join the church, if you don't have a church home, you want to come from a different church or denomination. And what I thought about is that there was an individual who came from a different Methodist church. This was First Methodist Church. But she was attending a different Methodist church, and she wanted to join the Methodist church I attended. And I wondered, did the reverend from the one she was leaving, did he call his colleague and say, "My man, you're stealing my parishioner"? Or was it her right to make the change? Maybe because she had moved to that part of town, maybe because she had more friends there. For different reasons, she wanted to change. I'm pretty sure there was no argument or debate that you're stealing my partisans or my parishioners, if you will. The other thing I would like to say, and this is a challenge, if this is such an issue, should we say to all of our partisans, you cannot leave our parties? Should I say to ANC partisans, no, you don't have a right, or you should not leave and join another CPP party? But oh, by the way, you can leave and join the CDC, or you can leave and join another non-CPP party, but you should not join another CPP party. I don't know, and I know this is sensitive. I know we'll talk about it and try to find some way to resolve it. I think when people are leaving political parties, people should ask themselves, why are they leaving? There's this narrative that somehow we're giving people money, and that's I'm telling you that's not true. People on the other hand call me cheap too, so I don't know which one it is. But I know it's sensitive. I know we need to resolve it. But I just remind people that people make changes within organizations, within denominations. People leave, one religion and go to another, or one church and go to another. We're in the same denomination and they change churches for different reasons. I use that as an example because it clicked when I saw this happening. But I know it's sensitive, and we're going to meet as part of the framework and see if we can find some way around it. But again, you just ask ourselves, should we tell our people they can't leave? Is that the solution? I don't know, but I understand the sensitivity, and again, we'll try to. What I do know, what I ask our partisans to do is there are more Liberians who are not in political parties than are in political parties. So we want to fish where the fish is, and we'll focus there, and not focus on recruiting from existing CBP parties. So long answer to your question, but I know there's a lot of sensitivity, and I wanted to try to fully address it.
Royal wants to know, says, I believe you're able to change the education sector in Liberia, but please can you tell us how are you going to do it, seeing how bad the sector is? Thanks.
Yeah, look, there are many things we need to do to change the educational sector. The first thing I would suggest we need to do, we need to prioritize, because education is broad, right? You got tertiary education or university education, you got secondary, you got elementary, you got primary, you got technical vocational education. It's broad. You got postgraduate degrees and broader. So we gotta. If we say we're gonna try to fix it all at the same time, we're kidding ourselves. We'll do nothing well. And by the way, it's hard because all of those things need to be fixed. But first kind of choices I think we need to make is, first we got to focus on teachers' education. Unless we have trained, qualified, well-paid teachers, almost nothing else matters, because they will be imparting bad information, bad knowledge. If they're not paid a living wage, they will accept bribes to change grades. They will put pressure on female students to sleep with them. You will get all of these bad behaviors. And so not only do we need to train them well, we need to pay them a living wage to take away the incentive for the corruption that occurs in education. Because when you pay them a living wage and then they steal or they mistreat a student or they accept bribes, then we'll come down hard on them, hard bricks, right? Because that cannot be acceptable. So anyway, first priority is we got to focus on teachers' education. The second area I think we need to focus on is vocational training. If we want to grow the economy, if we want to grow infrastructure, we need Liberians with the skills to take advantage of that. So we don't have other nationals, coming and building our roads, or if you're building homes or whatever we're doing, we need Liberians who are good carpenters, masonry, electricians, etc., etc. And so vocational training, and by the way, with those vocational skills, they can start their own businesses and sell their services, etc., etc. So vocational training is another focus area. And then primary education, right? We gotta start early. We gotta focus on the young people, because they are the future. And how can we improve the quality of primary education starting immediately? And so those are the sort of areas. Every area is important too, by the way. And this is what choices is. It's going to be hard to make choices, but we have to. And I would start there as a means of beginning to improve our education system in Liberia. And again, of course, I mentioned the need for science and math and technical education, given where the world is going, and Liberians are being left behind, and we want to focus on that area very specifically.
Okay. People's son Ji Yon wants to know, what is your subjection on We Are Step Down?
Well, the party has not formally made a decision on that. We're discussing that now as we speak, and we'll make a call on whether we support the quote-unquote step down protests or not. Let me say this though, we just like we said for the June 7th protests, we support the right of Liberians to protest. It is their constitutional right to do so. To protest bad educational system, not getting paid, poor healthcare system. It is our right as a people to get on the street and protest. I have a question in my own mind, though, as labeling a protest step down. Is that the right way to think about this thing? But I don't want to get ahead of the party. We are trying to build an institution. We don't want this to be the Alex Cummings party. We want to be a party owned by all ANC partisans. And we're going through a process of making that decision. And we will make that call next week. I mean, I think we have a meeting on Monday where we'll make a final decision, and then we'll let the public know on what the party's decision is. And that I will support that decision, whatever it is. So you will know very shortly on where we are on that decision.
Okay. Then Simon Benedict. Actually, I think this is close to the other question. Jim Zodwa wants to know why do you keep paying people to protest in Liberia?
That is actually a disrespectful question. I'm not even sure I should, give an answer. And no disrespect to the person who asked the question. That is nonsense, and that's propaganda that actually makes no sense. And let's debunk it. I'm not paying people to protest. I don't have that kind of money. That'd be a waste of money. I'm a much more responsible person than that. And so let me say no more. That's an irritating question.
You have Benzema Benedict asking, what's your current plan for the CPP?
Yeah, look, I think I've addressed that. We're working on the framework. We have put a process in place with timelines and to address it. We want to make sure, I want to make sure that when we sign this framework agreement, I want to make sure we've given time for all of the partisans of all of the CPP parties to understand what we're committing to embrace it, to support it. Because if we don't do that, and just a few people in the room agreed and signed it, that's another reason why it may not work. Because the majority of people who didn't see it, who didn't participate, who weren't aware, will start to fight it. Will start to say, I didn't agree, and you will get all of this distraction. But there is a process that we're working on. We want to sign a framework agreement. I'm hopeful it will happen by the end of the year. So we start 2020 with a framework in place that is not a secret, that everybody knows, that we all agree to live by, and we can call each other out if we're violating the framework. So that's the process we're going through. And again, as I said in my opening remarks, we will work hard to make sure the CPP works.
John Sabo wants to know, you're supporting Tai Wongbe as senator. Has any of the other CPP leaders pledged their support?
No, and they would not. And this is why a process becomes important, because other CPP parties will likely have candidates as well for NIMA. And this is where I keep talking about the process. How are we going to decide whether is the ANC candidate in terms of Tai Wongbe, is the Unity Party candidate who is the incumbent, is the Liberty Party candidate, or the ELP Party candidate? This framework will help us make that determination on which of our candidates we're going to support, whether it's in Nimba, in Bong, in Mankibi, in Maryland, in Lofa, the list goes on, right? But I, as the political leader of the ANC, will support my candidate, Tai Wongbe, for the senator in Nimba County. And once we decide how we're going to make that selection, and if that process is free, fair, transparent, we've signed up to it, and is executed the way we envision, we will support the outcome of that process. Tai will support the outcome of that process if it's free, fair, and if it's not him. And I'm assuming that if that process says we should support Tai Wongbe, the other parties will do the same. But in the meantime, yes, I'm supporting Ta Wongbe, I'm supporting Jeremiah Solonte in Bong because he is our candidate in our county for the Senate. And again, similarly, I'm sure the other parties will have their candidates that they will support, and then we'll come together through this process. We'll figure out who the strongest candidate is, and we'll get behind that person. So one of the CPP parties can win that seat in 2020.
Okay. Anthony Nebo wants to know, do you really need to be in an alliance?
Good question. The answer, yes, it's helpful. There's no question about strength in numbers. I mean, if you just look at the math, the arithmetic, so I like numbers, right? And if you add, ANC vote, Unity Party votes, Liberty Party votes, from 2017, ALP votes, you almost win in the first round, right? Now, of course, that will not be static, and votes will change between now and then. There will be more voters happening, that kind of stuff. But that's just an illustration of why an alliance is important. Beyond that, though, it's not just important alliance to win. I keep saying that. It's important to govern. We want a big tent. We want an inclusive tent of everybody in there, because we're going to have to make these tough choices in how we're going to change Liberia. We're going to have to make tough choices in healthcare. We can't fix the entire healthcare system right away. We can't fix education right away. We can't put all the infrastructure we want right away. We're going to have to say, look, we're going to finish the road between Ganta and Saclapia first, before we finish the road between, Bassa and Riverside, for example, right? We got to make those choices. And the more people in the tent, those people who from the Bassa Riverside belt can go to the people and say, look, the reason why we're doing Ganta Saclapia first is because maybe there's more people there, more economic activity, but we'll do this one next. So the more people you got in there who are part of the decision making, the easier you can make choices, you can explain to people, they can be more patient as we transform Liberia. And so for me, this alliance is not just about the elections, but it's about how we need to govern. The other reason why I think the framework is important, because we need to be clear on, in addition to aligning around wanting more people from our parties in the Senate, etc. We need to be clear on what are our objectives for Liberia. What are these choices we're going to make, and we need to make the time to make those trade-offs. So there's got to be something that binds us, that goes beyond just winning the election. Winning the election is not only important, because if you don't, you can't implement your plans, right? But it's got to be more than that, right? And it's got to be both if this is going to endure. Because if it's only about winning the election, once you win the election, what's going to keep us together? It will just likely break up. And you have challenges like is alleged that is happening in the CDC today. So for all of these reasons, an alliance, makes sense. Alliances always make sense. And that's why we're very supportive of trying to make this one work.
Okay, so Stanley Bushi and Kana Sherry both have similar questions. Are you willing to be a vice president to someone else, or not be the lead person of the CPP? That's Stanley. And Kana, are you willing to be a vice president to what kind?
Yeah, look, again, I think we need to take the discussion away for now from vice president, president. The elections is 4 years away. And I think that's part of what's causing all of this noise with the CPP and with our partisans and all of this emotion. And we need to focus on the senatorial race, which is 2020. That's close. 2020 comes before 2023. Let's figure out how we can work together to win most of the Senate, to get the right people in the legislature. Because I can yell and scream all I want, You all listening can yell and scream all you want. It doesn't matter. The legislature is where the authority is to provide a check and balance. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on solutions to the Liberian people's problems, etc., etc. What I'll also say to you, though, and this question in some ways is unfair, and it's part of a narrative that is being perpetuated by some people. When you go into a football tournament or a basketball tournament or a kickball tournament, right? You don't go into the tournament saying you want to come in runner-up, you want to come in second. You know what it does. You know, we got the county meet coming up in December here in Liberia. I'm sure no county team, as they're practicing now, as they're getting ready, saying, gentlemen, or the kickball team, ladies, we want to come in second. That was grow, man. We want to come in second. Well, you know what? If that's their goal, they will not even get to the semifinals. My experience in life is you want to shoot for the top, and if you don't get to the top, you deal with it at that point in time. You settle, you compromise, you make trade-offs, right? But if I started my work life saying, oh, I just want to keep my job, I just want to become a manager, and I would just be happy to become a manager, I would not have risen to where I've risen. And this debate about second, third, let me say to people now, let's just forget it. That is nonsense, right? Everybody in the CPP should be striving to be the number one. We'll come up with a process that makes that determination. Again, if that process is free, fair, transparent, we sign up to it, and whatever the outcome is, we will support the outcome of that process. But I'm not going to go into a tournament wanting to come in second or third. I'm sorry. I've lived for 40 years. I've had a lot of experiences, and I've seen people who, before they even start the matches, they settle and they lose. And so let's put that question aside, please. That is not relevant today. That is not relevant today. There are more pressing things that all of the partisans of our various parties should be focused on, and let's forget, this presidency thing for now.
Okay. Abin Niva wants to know, if elected president, what is your view on using information technology to help curb corruption?
Again, I don't want to talk about if I'm elected president. That we get into this cycle. Let me just talk about the importance of technology across the board. Not just curbing corruption, right? Is a tool, but everybody knows that technology, as I mentioned in my opening statement, is disrupting everything. If you think about Amazons of the world, the Googles of the world, the Apples of the world, all technology in your daily lives. You take pictures and you put it on social media. You can get to your friends. You can transfer money by mobile technology. It's disrupting agriculture. It's touching everything we do. So yes, technology will help us curtail corruption among many things. Technology will help Liberia leapfrog some of our challenges, some of the things we're not going to have to go through all the steps that other countries have gone through if we embrace technology. This is why the Cummings Foundation is focused on science, math, engineering, technical. This is why we support a STEM school on Dupo Road of young kids that covers all subjects but is focused on the sciences. This is why when we agreed to support the Nema County Community College, we were very specific in saying we want our support, our contribution to go towards science and technology and engineering and math. And they said, we need classrooms, we want to start this program, and we said, fine, we'll contribute to that. So technology will affect everything, including corruption. And that will happen whether I become president or not, right? We got to focus on technology.
So plenty of people want to know what you do when you become president, because there's another question that says, assuming you are elected today, what will be your key priority areas for the first 100 days?
Again, this is what I think should be the priority of anybody who become president. So, and by the way, let me just say to people on the podcast that I'm being deliberate in trying to avoid this question around the presidency because it's proven to be very divisive. And my goal and objective is about how can we improve the lives of the Liberian people. And I want to demonstrate in actions, not just words. That's what we should be focused on. And so priorities, I think, should be for anybody who, assumes leadership in our country. The first one gotta be around the economy. Gotta be around the economy. And so the first 100 days, whoever assumes that job has some time now, between now and 2023, to have done very detailed work around the transformation of the Liberian economy, and should hit the ground running when they assume that role. And that's in the first 100 days and the entire 6 years or 5 years if they change the term of the presidency, right? But the economy is the first priority. The second priority, which also supports the economy, is revenue generation, right? Because we can talk about fixing education, health, all of these things, without money, it will be talk, right? So again, having plans going in on how we will increase the revenues of our country, right? To invest in all of these areas we need to invest in. And increasing revenue means you not only grow that revenue, but you take waste out. In fact, you got more control. This is where the corruption comes in. This is where being smart about how you spend your money. So the existing revenue you have today, right? How can you maximize it by reducing the leakages and then prioritize on how you grow it? During the elections, when we had the debates, I said we needed to not spend too much time on this $500 million number. We need to think about how we can grow it to $2.5 billion, and then many people, including Mariah and her friends, you can't do this thing, right? We are adjusting. But anyway, revenue growth is part of what has to be a priority. Job creation, again, ties to the economy. How can we create jobs for our people? It's going to be a priority. And then some simple things we should do is, setting the example as leaders, following the rules, going to work on time. These things sound simple, but they are not unimportant, right? Following the traffic rules. I often say to our diaspora Liberians, right? Somehow they follow the rules in the UK and the US and wherever they live. And then somehow they get to RIA, they forget all the rules, right? We gotta have a country of rules, of laws, and the leader gotta set the example. We gotta follow the rules, we gotta obey the rules. And those are simple things, but very important to set a new tune, a new direction in terms of how we move the country ahead. But again, I would suggest that anybody who's successful in leading our country should set those examples. You can't tell people to go to work on time and you don't. If you tell people to be to work at 8 o'clock, you go 10 o'clock every day, they will come at 9:45. If you tell people not to steal and you steal, yeah, right, they will steal themselves. They're not stupid, right? You got to set the example and you got to start from day one. In fact, not even starting from day one, we got to start now. Setting those examples. One of my favorite sayings is the best predictor of future performance, future behavior is past performance, past behavior. So we need to start setting those examples today if people are going to believe that we'll do it, come, January 2024.
Okay, so we've had a few of these questions, so put them together. I guess they want to know, why can't you run as senator come 2020 since you mean well for the Liberian people? And someone else is saying, why can't you contest in Maryland County as senator come 2020 for being president? So the senator 2020.
Sure. Yeah, look, good question. First of all, the Senate is a very important institution, and senators play a very important role in our governance. And as I said earlier, the legislature, Senate and House, needs to play their role as the first branch and provide the checks and balance required to appropriately govern our country. And so a very important role, very important job. Again, there's this narrative being painted that I think I'm too big for it, and I wouldn't want to be president, all that kind of stuff, which is not true. But let me tell you why I personally don't want to pursue the Senate today. One is the Senate agenda is set primarily by the President pro tem, similarly in the House by the Speaker. And today, unfortunately, both those roles are held by the ruling party. And if I went into the Senate, and I'm sure I could have an impact, because I will be viewed as a threat, because I am viewed as a threat, there will be determination that I'm not successful. I believe there will be determination that bills are proposed and stuff that will not see the light of day. That's one of the reasons why I'm not sure if that would be a good use of my time, given what is the reality. We just got to be real here about the situation we're faced with today. Similarly, that's why I don't make public of the businesses I invest in that create jobs. In fact, there's been a real life case, I'll say to all of you listening, that a suspicion of a business that I'm invested in, and some group of people went and attacked their equipment and the generator room and that kind of stuff, claiming that they were trying to hurt a business I was invested in. And of course, hurting people's jobs, and we got partners in there, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what I'm saying. If I went to the Senate, there will be determination, because I'll be viewed as a threat to make sure that there's not success and things we want to do. The second reason why is also real for me. Is a fact that politics anywhere in the world requires resources, right? And if I went into the Senate, I would want to play by the rules. I would want no conflict of interest. I would want to be doing no sort of business, or I do consultancy now because of my experience. As a senator in Liberia, there are certain code of conduct I would want to follow that would preclude me from doing these things, that would dry up sources of income, legitimate sources of income I have today. And so given the fact that I think progress I would try to make will be fought, combined with the fact that because I want to be a full-time senator and do it the right way, that it will drive some sources of revenue that I need to fund the foundation, to fund these programs, that kind of stuff. That combination makes it difficult to try to consider the Senate. So that's why important institution, important role. I want to encourage good people to get into the Senate. That's why I'm encouraging Tawongbe in Nimba. That's why I'm encouraging Ambassador Solontaire in Bong. And we'll identify candidates in all 15 counties to run. Because I understand the importance of that institution. For those two reasons, it doesn't make sense for me at this point in time.
Okay. We have a question here, a couple of questions.
We will, but I would take one or two more, because
Right.
as you know, I have a 4 o'clock, and I like to be on time and not keep people waiting. And again, people know this will not be my last podcast. We're doing this every month, and we'll also do some radio interviews from time to time as well. But let's take the last 2 questions.
Okay, so the one question here, 2 persons has asked about the same-sex marriage or gay question. Do you support same-sex marriage? Joseph Allah is asking, and another person said, is it true that you support gay?
Yeah, no. I mean, look, the same question, and again, this is a narrative that's been played and used politically. I do not support same-sex marriage, never have. So Christian married man, that's not a lifestyle I support, and that is not a lifestyle the Liberian people generally support. You know, I often say to people as well that, you know, that is not a priority for most Liberians today. Liberians want jobs, they want better healthcare, they want better education, they want better infrastructure, etc., and that's where we should focus our energy, and that's where my energy is focused. But to answer the question directly, and I have, that is not a lifestyle I support.
And the last question I guess would take so you conclude is, what is your position on dual citizenship? We've had 3 of those questions.
Yeah, I support dual citizenship. You know, if you look around the world, most countries, or let me say many, because I have not done empirical work. I think most, but many, even if not most, allow dual citizenships. And let me give you some of the practical reasons why. You know, I think I was talking to a Nigerian friend and colleague. Nigeria has had dual citizenship for over 20 years or more. And he said at the time when the debate came, there was a very practical answer to why it made sense. They said, look, are we willing, how come we're willing to pay a non-Nigerian expat, in quotes, American or European, whatever, to come and do stuff for us, who got the technical expertise, but we're not willing to pay another Nigerian because he or she has a different passport, and not willing to accept them, the Nigerians, their parents were, etc., etc. And from that very practical perspective, that says, you know, dual citizenship makes sense. You know, citizenship cannot be denied, cannot be taken away once earned. So I do that. But I also agree that we should put some restrictions. And so I think Kenya has done something similar, Ghana, the rules are not the same, but they've said, look, if you want to be president, vice president, you know, you want to be chief justice, there's certain roles, I think you have to have only one passport. Because you cannot be in those high policy-making roles and have the opportunity to escape bad decisions you make, bad policies you make. You have to be, you know, compelled to live with the consequences of decisions you make on behalf of other people. So if you're in a policy-making role and decisions you make affect thousands and millions of people, you can't have an out. Oh, if it doesn't work, woo, I can run away, right? You gotta, you know, if it doesn't work, I gotta live with the consequence of this. I think that influences the decisions you make. I think we should be careful not to put too many more restrictions on that, because again, you know, like at the assistant minister level, that's where the technical work needs to be done. That's where you need the technical expertise. And at that level, I think we should be flexible with this dual citizenship thing. But long answer, I think it makes sense. I think we should do it. I think we look across Africa, most countries in our continent and across the world allow it because they're benefit. Now, there's some reasons why, by the way, to be fair, why many Liberians are not supportive. Because they've seen the behaviors, unfortunately, of a few diaspora Liberians who've come home, done bad things, stolen, and they can leave and no consequences, right? I mean, of course, Liberians in Liberia with only one passport steal and do bad things, there are no consequences either. But the fact that they can leave and walk away, Liberians are reticent, and you can understand that, right? I mean, so we got to be sensitive to both sides of the argument, and not be condescending, and just understand why people feel the way they do, and try to explain and help them understand the values or the benefit, why it makes sense. You know, unfortunately, again, not many, but a few diaspora Liberians come in and kind of look down on people here, and I say very condescending, you know, and because, you know, you've had the blessings of being able to go to a different country and get different sets of experiences, you know, doesn't make you any better. And again, this is very few people that do this, by the way. Most Liberians are, understand this and that sort of stuff. But those few examples of when that happens, it colors things for everybody. It paints everybody bad, even though the majority of the diaspora Liberians don't do these things. And I want to make that point. But a few do, and it makes it difficult for the others who don't do that. But look, let me end. It's a little after 4. As I say, I have somebody actually waiting. We're in, by the way, we're in the lobby of the Cummings Foundation, and so people are actually waiting outside to come and see me. Just for the record, I spend most of my time here at the foundation office, business calls, meeting people, etc., etc. I spend about a week or so at the party office. So I'm not, contrary to popularly driven and in the political stuff every day of my life. But I want to thank you again for those listening in. Thanks for your questions, all good questions, except for the one that says I'm sponsoring protests. That really pisses me off, and it shows a lot of ignorance. But all good questions, all challenging questions, and I welcome your questions, comments, and suggestions. I thank you very much, and I look forward to having this discussion in the next 30 days. God bless you, and God bless Liberia. Thank you very much.
That was the conversation with Mr. Cummings. You listen to it. And these are some of the reasons why we do this. We always play some of these things and do some of these things is because we want to we want people to know and listen to Mr. Cummings' vision, his his intelligence when it comes to decision making, when it comes to policy, when it comes to articulating his own view and his ideas. So that's the reason why it is the platform where you have everything about Mr. Cummings. There's the All About Cummings show. It is where we do what the Liberian people need. And this is what we will keep doing because we believe the person we support have the moral rectitude to change what is wrong in this country under the church we have administration. And that's the reason why we will always support Mr. Cummings. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone, everybody, every young man, every young woman, every older person, every adult who see Mr. Cummings as the light, as the loose internal birds, the light in darkness, who see Mr. Cummings as the alternative to change this country. I'd like to say thank you for your inputs, for everything you have been doing. And to all those who support the All About Cummings show team, I'd like to say thank you to you people. You people are doing well. There's a big news coming on this platform. While we'll be on the internet, we'll also information is reaching us. There's another good news that will be relayed. Programs will be relayed in Lafayette County. So we stay on the negotiation. A radio station in Lafayette County want to relay our show. So that is on the air our show. So we still keep on talking to them. And we'd like to say thank you to Fabai for reaching out. And we are always here. We are on the All About Cummings show. We will always contribute to Mr. Cummings' progress. The progressivity of this country for this country to develop, it depends on Mr. Cummings. And Mr. Cummings is the only leader that will make that necessary change. And we need to do all what we can in our power, in our might, in our understanding to make this country better. We made our mistakes in 2017. We can rewrite that mistake in 2023 by electing Mr. Cummings. So all those who keep supporting, who keep watching, who keep following this show, who keep sharing this show, I'd like to say thank you for doing it. This is what we need you people to do. This is the support we need you people to keep giving. We'll keep on informing our people. We'll keep on educating our people around the world that Mr. Cummings is the next alternative for this country comes to alternative. And that alternative, we will continue to have it. We'll continue to be with Mr. Cummings because we know Mr. Cummings will change this country for the better. Parker has served 12 years. He has failed us. Georgia has served 5 years. There is nothing changing. Mr. Cummings can make that difference. Comes to 2023. And we all need to rally our hands, put our downs, our ballots to see how this can be the next president for this country comes to 2023. So I leave you with music. I have to say thank you to everyone for watching. From where you're watching, all those who support this show, the other thing. I have to say thank you. Thank you for sending your money. Thank you for maintaining the show. Thank you for doing things for the show. That's you. And finances to keep supporting the show. Everyone for watching. Thank you for following. Keep following. We'll be on tomorrow. We broadcast level 3, the audience we are broadcasting, especially administrative assistant Mr. Cummings on our show, and he is also the secretary of CU Congress. We have a conversation with him in studio on Friday. So following the upcoming show team, keep following the DVP, sharing. We are here for you. Thank you very much. Lego music.